Hello and welcome to Center of Weirdness, or should I say, Center of Merriment, the weird podcast about very weird Christmas stuff. But mostly it's weird TV episodes, in this case, specifically Christmas episodes. I'm Jolly Josh, and with me is Santa Skinner. Hi, Skinner.
Hey, Josh. Have you tested positive for the season?
Fuck you. I am currently COVID positive, which while we're recording
and
this,
Christmas spirit positive.
That's right. I am positive for COVID and Christmas spirit because this week on the show, we are talking about the Wish That Changed Christmas, a TV special from 1991, presented by McDonald's.
I didn't realize when we were watching it that I thought it was just McDonald's little interstitials at the start and the end were like, I don't know, commercials.
Yes.
But they're part of the special.
Yes.
Because he's presenting it as part of Ronald McDonald Theater.
Yeah, it's very. Was that a thing? Like Walt Disney Theater kind of thing?
I mean, they have a graphic for it if you look it up.
But I'm curious, like, that makes me wonder what else did they do? Because, like, I don't know, man, that's like a thing that is just like gone to the wayside. Like that is, I don't feel like there are things doing that anymore.
Where a brand would so specifically do this.
Yeah, like, I guess you could say that that's maybe, there are still things like this. I did just look it up. There were only 2 movies, apparently. The Wish That Changed Christmas in 1991 and The Magic Paintbrush in 1993.
The Magic Paintbrush, huh?
Yeah,
both
I've never heard of that either.
No one's will ever forget.
Yeah, when you click on it on this, I think it's like the Internet Animation Database. When you click on it, there is nothing but the director listed. Like there's no image, no synopsis, no nothing. So I have no idea what that is. If you know how to watch it or know what it is, send it our way. We might have to take a look at it because maybe it's just that this website, maybe there were more and this website is just very badly maintained because there is a banner that says the Internet Animation Database is in financial trouble. Please read here. So maybe they just haven't updated that page in a while.
Who of us among us aren't in financial problems?
Yeah,
us,
no, we're all in financial trouble.
Twitter.
So it's happening. Apparently there were more because there's another list that doesn't list those 2, but does list another movie from 95 called Aliens for Breakfast. So who knows how many different movies our specials were screened as part of McDonald's Family Theater. But for this one specifically, The Wish That Changed Christmas is exciting to us for a couple reasons. One, it's insane. 2, it was written for television by Romeo Muller. Last year at Christmas, we did a Center of Weirdness about Noel, which is, if you haven't seen it, you definitely should. Also written by Romeo Muller, an insane Christmas special about an anthropomorphic Christmas ornament that becomes the embodiment of Christmas spirit all over the world.
I think what is great about both of these as a package, both based on books that aren't super well known. This one is based on the story of the Holly and the Ivy, written back in 1958. But like they have this whole thing where a main character is inexplicably incredibly stupid. Not to be mean to Ivy. And
no,
it has
but she's kind of dumb.
She's kind of, and has a narration that just ties everything together in the worst possible way at the end.
No offense to Paul Winfield, who is our narrator in this one. He is probably, I think, maybe a better actor and maybe a better overall person than Charlton Heston, but it's really hard to compete against Charlton Heston's narration in Noel.
At the same time, I don't think there's a character in Noel. And Noel has a lot of really crazy characters, like the tree that is fine going to its own death, and the train, which kind of shows back up in this one. And of course, the other ornaments who are all assholes and wish for oblivion. but none of them quite have the panache of Jonathan Winter's abracadabra
Yeah.
in this, because I was shocked that abracadabra is in the book, because as presented in the special, it makes no sense and it is just bizarre.
Yes, it is so. I don't want to talk too much about him just yet. I want to set up what this story is first, but I'll just say that like his inclusion is so strange compared to everything else that's going on, because everything else is very subdued and very like sad and like very it's kind of flat.
It's flat. It's kind of watercolor.
Yes.
I'm talking about the art style for a specific reason. And it's all kind of, it has a not whimsy, but kind of sorrow to it.
Yeah. Okay. So a good way to describe the way this looks is that, oh my God, that book from I think the late 80s, maybe called is it called The Snowman? It's like it's
the big snowman across the front with the green hat.
Yes, that's kind of what it looks like. Like the art style of this whole special. The Snowman by Raymond Briggs. It looks like that. It looks like this very sort of soft, pastel-y kind of watercolor, color pencil look to
Everyone's
it. And then
eyes are just black dots.
Yeah, and then you have Abracadabra, who doesn't fit at all.
Like as we were watching it, your line about it, which is incredibly accurate, is they hired Don Bluth just to animate Abracadabra.
Yes. You said he looks like he's out of Fern Gully, and you're right. Like he looks like a Fern Gully character. He's this like owl toy, I think.
For the book, for the Wikipedia article on the story of Holly and Ivy, it refers to him as a malevolent stuffed owl with some unusual abilities. And I guess that's right.
That's accurate.
But in effect, watching this and based on everything it does, Abracadabra is a real owl who can talk. There's nothing.
It's like it's a real owl who snuck into this toy store and decided to pretend to be a toy.
Yes, because it doesn't do anything. There's nothing about it that required it to be a toy. It doesn't look like a toy. It doesn't act like a toy.
Because like Holly, or the doll that is kind of the center, the other sort of, I don't know, I'm not going to say main character, but the other character of the story that's very important. Like she still acts like a doll. Her arms are kind of stuck outward by her side. Like she's very limited in motion. She doesn't move a lot. None of the other toys move a lot. But he is the most animated thing you've ever seen.
Let's go into the setup, because I have more to talk about as far as the systems that are in effect for how the toys work.
Okay, yes, I want to get into that too, because it's kind of a Toy Story thing, but
it's not.
But I'm not totally sure how it all works. I think that's probably the closest equivalent, but we'll get into there. So we open with a screen telling us that this is made possible by the McDonald's Corporation. And we get a little opening where I thought there was going to be more setup here, but Ronald's just hanging out in a house and it's snowing outside.
So like we grew up with, like, even though we were slightly two different generations, I think we both grew up with Ronald McDonald being kind of saturatedly part of our childhood. So we don't give him any thought. He's not really, I mean, he's still the mascot for McDonald's.
No, I think they got rid of him.
Did they get rid of him? Because I mean, like, I know he was when Holly was a little one, but he's definitely not around barely with anything, even on the Happy Meal stuff.
I think Ronald McDonald was like retired a couple of years ago.
Holly,
unless they brought him back, but like I think that he got retired. It looks like he got retired in at the end of 2016.
Yeah, because Holly like came to me like out of nowhere the other day.
Oh God, they did it apparently because of that weird creepy clown phase that everybody went through.
Oh, that's right. And that's like, I mean, Holly told me, like, came to me apropos of nothing, was telling me, when you guys were younger, didn't you find Ronald creepy? And I'm like, it never occurred to me. Like, he barely registered as a clown to me. Like,
yeah,
he was just Ronald McDonald. That's what Ronald McDonald looked like. Ronald McDonald was on TV and at the stores from the moment you were born. Like, it never really, like, it didn't key to me that he was just another clown, right?
So this is from the Wikipedia page, so grain of salt, obviously. It says that critics claimed that a clown mascot targeting children for fast food is unethical, which yeah, they probably have a point there. And that was in like 2011. A bunch of doctors and health professionals took out newspaper ads saying that he should be retired. Ronald McDonald has made fewer appearances since 2016 due to the 2016 clown sightings. However, he continues to appear at live events and on social media occasionally. So he's just not in their commercials anymore.
That's not a bad thing. Not like, McDonald's will find a way to make kids want to eat it anyways.
I mean, it's McDonald's. So,
and by the way, if you don't have a kid, you don't realize that they will call it Old McDonald's at some when they're kids, and they will combine that song that they had to hear all the time with that restaurant and tell you that they want to go to Old McDonald's at some point. Every kid will do that, and you don't expect it as an adult. I don't know why. So, into the show proper, here is The Wish That Changed Christmas.
Oh, yeah, we didn't say the Fry Guys show up.
The Fry Guys show up.
Yeah, the Fry Guys show up, and they want some, he sets them down on the couch, and he's going to tell them a story, and I'm sorry I interrupted you. You were saying something about your daughter, Holly, talking about Ronald McDonald.
He just hates him. Just hates him. Just does not understand why we as kids did not find him creepy. And she says her and her friends at school talk about, I can't believe McDonald's used to have a clown as this mascot because it's such a creepy looking clown.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. So yeah, Ronald runs off, I think, to make the Fry Guys some hot chocolate or something.
And then they rob his house.
And then they go right into the story, which I expected what I was saying earlier about there being some more setup. I expected there to be like, all right, and here's how the story begins. And he like opens the book and they like kind of go into the story and we see it play. But it's just, he runs off screen and the story starts. Josh here, breaking in. I am now COVID negative, but still positive for the Christmas spirit. Anyway, jumping in here to issue a slight correction, because there's a couple different versions of The Wish That Changed Christmas floating around on the internet. After we watched this one and recorded the episode, we then did a group watch with some friends, and we found an HD version that looks a lot better than the one we watched and has a different intro and outro with Ronald McDonald. No Fry Guys, though, just him reading through the books, kind of the same beats, but there's a little bit more build-up at the beginning that I was kind of looking for with this. And I think there might be even like a little interstitial commercial thing as well. I can't totally recall. But anyway, gonna put you back in the regular episode. But just take everything that we say about the little intro and outro with a grain of salt, because there are different versions out there, but the episode proper, the actual cartoon itself, is the same. It just looks better in the HD version, so track that one down because the animation is pretty good. All right, back to the show. So yeah, basically our main character is Ivy. An orphan who is basically she's living at Mrs. Shepherd's home for orphans. And we get a little narration up front from Paul Winfield, who plays Mr. Smith in the town of I think it's Mill Valley. And he's like, wishing and Christmas just naturally go together. I was like, yeah, I guess that's true. And he hangs a triangle on his tree and hits it with a little hammer.
What was this? Who put a triangle on your tree?
I don't know, but he's like,
that's not a thing.
He's like, many years ago, many towns away, like there was a little girl named Ivy, and we get into her story, and basically she's stuck at this orphanage. Apparently all the other kids at the orphanage have been taken in for Christmas. Now, they don't explain like if that means they've been adopted or they have been rented. I know I've brought up Rent-A-Kid on this show before, but that feels very much like a Rent-A-Kid situation where these people are renting these kids out for Christmas, or like that Christmas movie we watched last year with Megan Sunday. We did an episode on it, like the one with Eric McCormick and Roma Downey, where they pretend to be her and her daughter pretend to be his family for a business deal. Like, is it one of those situations where some rich guy needs to close a business deal, so they've hired some kids from the orphanage?
I don't know. I mean, it's presented like they have other families who just also let them live at the orphanage the rest of the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna go stay with because that's what you're right. That is kind of what it seems like, because it's like they're gonna go stay with their aunts or uncles for Christmas, but then they got to come back to the orphanage.
Yeah,
because
the family who are close enough to have you for holidays, but not close enough to make sure that you won't live in an orphanage.
Yeah, that you won't be stuck in the orphanage, the orphan system. Like, that's kind of bizarre to me, because Ivy's like, well, I have a grandmother, and and Miss Shepherd's like, no, you don't. I know it. She looks through her book, and she's like, nope, no grandmother.
It's funny because the way Miss Shepherd does it, she's like, she opens the after the narration with like, I put all the other kids on the train, but I guess I forgot about you.
Well, she says that all the other kids have been taken in, but I guess they all forgot about you. And it's like, okay. So
the way she says, you don't have a grandmother. I mean, technically she does, but just based on biology, she may not have a current grandmother who is alive, but she does. She is not grandmotherless.
Yes.
But so instead, because she cannot go home, she can't stay with Miss Shepherd because she is going to go see her sister instead. So that her sister, I guess her sister is allergic to kids or something. But,
yeah.
But she's instead sending her to the infant factory.
The Appleton Infants Home. And we get a nice little, like a Family Guy style cutaway of Ivy thinking about what that is. And it's just a row of cribs with infants crying, and Ivy sitting in a chair next to them by
I believe
herself.
This must have been the previous Christmas, because she didn't have a grandma last year either.
I mean, I guess you're right. That is that's kind of wild. So they put her on this train, and Ivy starts to lament, like, oh, if only I had a grandmother, maybe, this wouldn't happen. And then I could get a Christmas doll. And so she's kind of sitting on the train by herself, and as she's starting to pull out, Miss Shepherd runs up and gives her a Christmas gift, and she's like, oh, maybe this is a Christmas doll. And she opens it, and it is a pencil case. And, I've long been on a crusade about not giving pens or pencils or anything like that as Christmas gifts or gifts of any kind, and this just reinforces it. Nobody wants a pencil box. Nobody wants that. Don't give it.
I have a story about this in particular.
Oh, okay.
So, my mother is one of 7 children, which is not a huge family for the time in Newfoundland. And my grandfather died in the mines when she was young. So they were exceedingly poor. So what they did for Christmas is that every year they got a pencil box one year.
Oh, no.
Through the state.
Sorry that I made that bold proclamation.
And then every year they would rewrap it up, the one from last year, and put it back under the tree for years and years.
Man, I mean, hey, you got to do what you got to do. I can't, I've been in dire financial situations when I was younger too. So I get it.
I just love that it was specifically because it's not a, I suppose at the time, like my mother would have been a child in the early 50s. Book is from the 1950s.
Yeah,
so maybe it was more of a thing then of poor kids get pencil boxes.
I mean,
but by 91, this seems out of place.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could assume that this probably does take place around the 50s. I mean, there's no like, we don't see a ton of cars in this town. It looks like everybody just kind of walks everywhere, and
the toy store is very, very old fashioned, except for this living owl.
This probably does take place in the 50s, I would assume.
But I love how depressing this is set up.
Yes.
is told she has no grandmother. No one's taking her. She has no family. Literally every other orphan somehow has more place in the world than her. She is the most orphaned orphan at Christmas. She is going to put on a train to go sit by newborn babies who some probably have more in the world than she has. And then she sits on this train, does not get what she wants for Christmas. She makes a fog face in the window and talks to it as her only friend. She draws a face in her little breath fog on the window and introduces herself as Ivy.
Yeah, it's very sad. It is incredibly sad.
It is incredibly sad, and this show, like Noel, is very fine making its characters suffer, but have them kind of ignorant to the fact they are suffering.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, so before we picked this to do, we were looking around at other possible kind of Christmas themed short specials to cover. And it looks like Netflix made this thing based on a story by Frank McCourt, the guy who made Angela's Ashes. They made some 30-minute CG animated special called Angela's Christmas. And I was like, so did they make an Angela's Ashes Christmas special? And I looked up Angela's Ashes, and I was like, this isn't a comedy, right? This isn't like a feel-good thing. And I found that it was listed under the genre misery memoir. And I feel like Romeo Muller excelled at making like misery Christmas specials.
But it is couched in a way that it is uplifting.
Yeah.
But in the end, they're sewn up so weirdly and quickly that I feels like it's not earned. So like in the end, all you walk away with is, boy, they really treated this one character like shit. But if you look up reviews of this thing, and there are not many, because no one remembers it, even though Ron McDonald himself gave it his cachet, like this is a simple story. It is beautiful. It is heartwarming. It is what every Christmas special should be. Like, the people who like this shit do not see it as depressing.
Yeah.
They care about is like, somebody's dream came true and nobody said any swears. And that's all they care about. Like the scale of good to them between 1 and 10 is 10 is everything without swears.
Yeah. Yeah. It is so, it's like such a, it is like, it sets up such a bummer, and then it just wraps it up with no real like concern or
in a way that makes any sense. Like, what happens wouldn't happen, and thus it feels like it's fake.
Yeah, yeah. And it's kind of, I don't know. It's just one of those weird things that feels very like overly saccharine, but not in like an uplifting or heartwarming way. It's just like, okay, well, all right then.
I guess the modern version would be Christmas Shoes, which is just fucking depressing.
Oh my
and yet
God,
somehow people
yes.
who love it think it's the most beautiful story that's ever been told in the history of Earth.
Christmas Shoes is terrible. Like, not only is the song bad, but the movie is bad. If you've never seen
the song is just the story of the movie.
It's a book, right? Wasn't
right.
Or no. Sorry. The song I think was first, and then there was a book, and then there was a movie. I think like there's some sort of weird trajectory for that whole story.
It's all terrible.
It's very bad. Like I cannot recommend it, but if you like watching some real bad shit, you should totally watch that movie. Like, it's, I think Rob Lowe is in it.
He absolutely is.
I think I have it, and I think there are maybe like a couple sequels. Yeah, there are, because there's
Christmas sneakers, Christmas boots.
Yeah, Christmas cleats. No, it's the Christmas Blessing and Christmas Hope. And I think I have both of them on, I think I have all three on a DVD, a Christmas DVD that I bought for $5.
You could have bought some sick mom Christmas shoes with that.
I know, I could have. It's very bad of me to do that. I wasted my money on on the Christmas Shoes movie instead of buying Christmas shoes for a dying woman.
So
anyway, sorry.
Are we at the toys now? Are we going to introduce? Are we introducing Holly and Abracadabra?
Yes. So we cut to Mill Valley, But when we see that Ivy's wishing for a special doll, we see that special doll. This is Holly. This was weird for you, I imagine, right? Because your daughter
I mean, I named
is
her
a blonde girl named Holly.
Yeah, she's the doll. I bought her at the store. I mean, I named her Holly because she's born near Christmas.
Yeah, don't reveal that on the show. The feds will be at your door talking about buying your children.
Oh, you know.
So yeah, the doll is eager for love, as we all are. You know, she's there. She wants to be held. She wants to be, played with by another child. The weird thing, though, is that this doll has the sexiest, breathiest voice imaginable. Why did they make her talk like this?
She's a baby doll. Like, a certain portion of men love.
You're right. That is kind of the vibe.
Which, like, when everyone says to me, like, oh, my favorite, the only good Christmas song is Santa Baby by Eartha Kitt. I'm like, you really like that I'm a little girl talking to you thing?
She's kind of got like a breathier Betty Boop vibe. She's like, oh, I wish I could be held. Like,
she blinks slowly as her gimmick.
Yeah, she's like a cat who is imprinting on you, blinking slowly at you.
Blinking slowly. Her entire arc is she shows up, says she wants to be held and hugged, and then the owl makes fun of her. And like that repeats. That's all she does. That is every scene with her. And here's what really bothers me. Because later, the quote unquote grandma is going to see her blink, which means she really is alive.
Well, no, I think that's just that. Well, yes, she is, but also I think it's
because the owl attacks the kid.
Yeah. The toys are alive, but I also think
why are they alive?
I don't know. They could kind of pass that off as like, oh, it's a blinking motion of the doll, like it just does that.
But the toys are very much alive.
The toys are alive. So yes,
because in this scene they do have to make sure to stop being alive. It's a full store and very small. Apparently, no one sees them talking and moving, and the owl is screaming.
Yes. Okay, so we can talk about Abracadabra now. He is insane. He's played by Jonathan Winters, which I think is amazing. Like that's the best possible person they could have picked because he's very loud and like breathy and cackling a lot. Like he's all over the place with this performance, but I love it. Like it's so I guess maybe they intentionally I don't want to give them too much credit, but like did they intentionally animate him that way because of how Jonathan Winters was delivering this performance? Like is he more like big and bold and loud because that's how the performance is?
I don't know, because his eyes are drawn completely different than everybody. Like he looks like a Don Bluth character.
Yeah, for sure.
But no one else comes close to it. And every time he shows up on screen, he just starts going, you, someone loving you, it'll never happen. And it goes, and then his head will twist, and he'll move around the screen. His head will turn the other way. His eyes bulge. He comes at the screen. It happens 4 times. Like it is so overdone. His arms go everywhere. They might repeat animation, but it's just every time. That's all he does. We don't know why he's evil. We don't know why he hates this doll. Why he wishes for oblivion, which he does at one point. And like I said, why are they alive? I'm not saying like generally. I mean, as a rule set, why are they alive? Are all toys alive or are only these toys alive? They don't come alive at Christmas because of Christmas magic. They are already alive when it starts, and they remember being alive before and a possible after going into inventory. Yeah. And they try to hide being alive to the humans at one point, but not every time. Like
no, because
my yardstick for this, and you're not gonna remember this because you're too young, is a Muppet special called A Christmas Toy from 1986.
Okay.
It's basically Toy Story ripped it off.
Oh, I think I've heard of this. I don't think I've ever seen it though.
So it has toys that come to life when humans aren't around, like Toy Story.
Okay.
But if the humans see
I've seen this
move,
box art because there's that weird cat on it.
Yeah. So if the humans see them where they weren't last time. Not even just moving. If they aren't back where they were left by the humans, they are dead.
Whoa. So this would completely invalidate Elf on a Shelf.
Yes, it's the opposite of Elf on a Shelf. If the humans find them in a spot that they were not last, they will never come to life again.
Whoa.
They are dead to the other toys.
That
is the plot
dark.
of thing. And so when I watched Toy Story when it came out, having this in my head from a kid, I was like, what are the stakes for them being caught?
Yeah.
And there aren't any, really.
Huh.
And here, there's even less.
Yeah, that's weird because, like, you're right. They don't, like, we don't get any sense of any other toys because we see basically the owl and Holly, and then there's like a toy, like a toy soldier kind of guy, like a Nutcracker style soldier guy, and then I think there might be one other toy, but they don't really. They have like one or two lines, and then they're not really part of the show. So we don't really get a sense of, are the rest of the toys in this store alive and just standing still, and do they all have like the desire to, like, I mean there's only so much they can cram into 24 minutes, which I get, but like I also kind of was curious if, you know, like, does the owl, is it kind of like one of that speaking of Toy Story 3, you know, that bear who Lotso, who got like left out and in the rain and got replaced and like became very bitter about people, like, you know, did this happen to the owl? Did the owl get bought and returned? Did the owl never get bought? You know, like what was it about? What is it about Christmas that this owl hates? What is he? Yes.
Because he's a toy owl, but he looks and is just an owl.
Yeah. Like I said, he's probably an owl that snuck into the toy store to keep warm and is just like, you know, hanging out basically.
If I was at one point, Holly, the toy, blinks at the quote unquote grandma. Yes, and she's like,
Edna.
huh. She almost has a reaction of like, I need more sleep or something. So when that same doll shows up in her house later, she should be fucking weirded out.
No, she can't remember. She's overcome with joy at getting this random child.
Oh my God.
So, okay.
We can't get there soon enough.
No. Okay. So
21 minutes, by the way. This is 21 minutes long.
Yeah, we've already gone longer than the episode. They wrap it up so quickly. So, in Mill Valley, our narrator, Mr. Smith, who is a store clerk, he causes a cop. This is Officer Jones. What's his first name? I can't remember. But Officer Jones is here, and he's walking along and he trips over a wire because Mr. Smith distracts him. Mr. Smith says, "A cab," and sends this guy tripping over a wire that rips a bunch of the lights out of the Christmas tree. So instead of saying "Welcome to Mill Valley" or "Merry Christmas" from Mill Valley, it says "Merry Christmas, Ivy." So it knocks out all the lights except for Merry Christmas and Ivy. So, of course, as Ivy is coming along on the train, they do a stop in Mill Valley, and she sees this Christmas tree. So she naturally thinks, oh, maybe I do have a grandmother for real, and she's in this town.
He said that so naturally. She goes, "Merry Christmas, Ivy. Wait, I'm Ivy. I probably have a grandmother." And I thought, wow, that's real. What's wrong with you? And because you seem a little too old for that as drawn, that's a little weird. And that's not even the dumbest thing she does. But like, this is why when you put a kid alone on a plane, the staff takes them on and off. No one's there to tell this orphan who doesn't have a person in the world when she can come on and off the train.
This is the 1950s, though, my man. We just put people on shit and just like, they'll get there. It's fine. Kids could just go forever. It didn't matter. They never had to come home at night. It was just fine.
And what the problem was, it actually wasn't. We just didn't talk about it. The kids like her just never came back, and there's just no social media or news so that people never knew about it.
Yeah, things were so much better back then.
Things are equally bad in different ways all the time.
So she gets off the train and is wandering around going, "I'm Ivy, I'm Ivy." And no one is paying any attention to her at all. And the train, of course, takes off and she is not on it. So she's a little concerned that she's been left behind.
Much like the movie series Left Behind.
And so she's kind of wandering around. She goes up to a woman who's selling balloons, an older woman who's selling balloons, and says, don't you recognize me? I'm Ivy. And the woman's like, no, do you want a balloon? She's like, I'll take a blue one. And so she just kind of wanders around the town with nowhere to go.
Asking every old lady if she's their granddaughter.
Yeah, if they recognize her. And
at some point, somebody should have explained to this child what an actual grandmother is, rather than a theoretical every old lady without a kid. That's important. If you have to be old but have no child. Yes,
somehow logic doesn't really work, but she doesn't think about that.
I think the special doesn't think about that. It's more like because I think she is presented as having made the right choice.
Yeah, it kind of I think is trying, obviously, because it is aimed at children. It doesn't want to get into the messiness of her just looking for a mother. Like it specifically is a grandmother, which is kind of interesting to me because like both Edna and her husband don't seem like they're that old.
No, I mean, and they do adopt her as a daughter, but I wonder if she will always call them grandma.
Yeah, maybe so. So we meet here. This is when we meet Edna. She's walking around at the Christmas market. She is actually married to the cop that tripped, who caused this whole thing to happen.
It's called fate because
that's right. It's called fate because Mr. Smith made it happen.
It's because wishes come true at Christmas.
That is true. Yeah, that's setting people up for lots of disappointment in life. So Edna's out shopping for Christmas dinner, and her husband, Officer Jones, comes up and he's like, nothing big, very small because it's just us. And she's like, oh, I wish we could have a tree. And he's like, why would we have a tree? We don't have anyone to celebrate it with. There's no kids around. So it's really not worth it. Like it's kind of pointless for us to do all this work. This is, I'm assuming, Christmas Eve, I guess, that we're seeing this. So, if you're not going to get a tree, you might as well just not even bother at this point.
I think it must be because it feels like in the store scene, we are with Special Assistant Peter, we are told that it is Christmas Eve shopping.
Yeah, I think that is true because she kind of wanders off as he goes back to work, and she passes the toy shop and she sees Holly in the window, and this is when it blinks at her, and she kind of has that, like, if she had been drinking booze, she would have looked at the bottle and thrown it away and said, "No more of this." But then she gets this this inspiration to just go wild. She's like, I wish I had someone to give that doll to. And then she goes up to Mr. Smith and is like, I need a Christmas tree and I need all this stuff and I need everything. It's going to be great. So she gets the Christmas spirit just from this doll blinking at her. And
she's very sad. this cop has just not done enough for her.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, that's a pretty big bummer because, like, clearly she's not happy with this relationship, with the way it's going, because he's like, no, we don't need a tree, even though she clearly wants one. Like, she clearly wants to celebrate and do up Christmas big, even if it's just those two. And he's like, no, don't want to do it. It's not worth it.
On the bright side, when she does do it anyways, he does not get mad about it. He just kind of rolls his eyes.
Yeah, he's just like, well, it looks good. But then we cut inside the store. This is when we kind of see more with Holly. We see more with Abracadabra, and we meet Peter, who is he's the store clerk who's helping out with Mr. Blossom, I think is the clerk's name, who is absent-minded and kind of losing it because he's so busy. He tries to get Peter to wrap up a sandwich for a gift when he accidentally means to give him something else, another toy.
Which reminds me of a story recently, a thing that happened to me recently where I never saw this before. I was a clerk at the store I went to, was scanning things with two hands at a time. Like we'll grab two things and then scan one.
Yeah.
And she just could not remember which thing she scanned. So
no.
It was this constant 20-minute delay of her scanning something and then looking both hands and then getting confused, what she had actually already scanned.
Oh Lord.
And I wasn't in no rush, so this is amusing me greatly. And then I was watching the person in front of me do this, and then it came down to her last two things. And in one hand, she had a board game. And in one hand, she had a big bag of green grapes. And the woman who was going through said, "Can I get a gift receipt for that?" And she looked at the lady, and she looked at her hands. And she looked at the lady, looked at her hands, looked at each one, and goes, "For which one?" And I wish, just out of, even though we've been completely useless to her and actually detrimental to her actual need of a gift receipt, I wish she had said, "Of course, for the grapes."
Oh man, that's very funny. So I guess this is around the time, it's right at the end of the day, and Mr. Blossom is going home. He tells Peter to deliver the gifts and then to lock up,
and then he can take a one toy for himself as a gift.
Yes. Yeah. So and Peter kind of throughout the special has a whole thing about everybody calls me kid, and I'm when are they going to start treating me like an adult? I mean, of course, he is drawn and sounds like he's maybe 12 years old. I don't know what he's doing working in this store.
It's the 50s.
Yeah, the 50s, child labor, all good. So he heads off to deliver the gifts. He has this key, definitely the 50s, because he's got this big fucking gold key that you would get in a cereal box now as a prize or something. And he drops the key. The key falls out of his pocket because he has a hole in it, and it falls into the snow. And at the same time, we cut back to Ivy, who is wandering around in the dark. She hears the train and tries to catch it, but is not able to make it. The train, I don't even think, stops at Mill Valley because it's midnight. And the doll, Holly, sees her run by, and she's like, "Oh, it's very dark in here, and no one's going to see us without the lights on." And of course, Abracadabra likes the dark. He is excited to be put into storage later.
He's very excited to go into inventory where they'll be left alone forever,
covered in dust. And so Ivy walks alone throughout the town square. All the shops are closed, all the lights are off.
Just one child with bare legs, one balloon, zero grandmas.
Yeah.
What does the narrator say at this point?
The narrator has this great line. Mr. Smith says, "There's nothing colder and lonelier than being cold and lonely on Christmas Eve." Very poetic.
The small boulder the size of a large boulder.
So Ivy's kind of wandering along. She comes by the toy store, sees Holly in the window, and is like, "Oh, it's my Christmas dolly. I wish I could hold her.
It's mine."
Yeah, it's mine. I know it. And then Holly inside going, "I wish I could be held." And it's very, very over the top. But Ivy finds the key in the snow.
Okay.
And is like, it's a lucky key, maybe.
This is the thing. So she's stuck outside in the cold, in the dark.
Doesn't try the key.
Yes. So the idea you would think, oh, she finds the key. She's cold outside by herself. The doll she wants is inside. She will, out of necessity and desperation, try the key in the door she found it right beside to get warmed up, and then somehow have some kind of bonding moment with the doll. Probably not take it because she's not going to steal it because she's the main character. Instead, she goes, "Oh, cool, a good luck key," walks off, and then goes behind the building and finds a completely unrelated open door and goes inside and falls asleep on a pile.
Yeah, like what was this? It was like a storage unit, but it was outside, connected to a building. Like there's a door inside.
Yeah, like a door to like the back lot of a store, but it looked like a train car that happened to be in the middle of this town.
Yeah, so she goes into this room and she's like, it's warm in here, and then falls asleep on some dirty sheets
with her good luck key. What is a good luck key?
She has this dream where she kind of replays a lot of the stuff that happened, the balloons, her on the train, and it's drawn in this really interesting style that's very different from the rest of the episode. It's like very sketchy and like kind of very broad
she has a
strokes. Fever. Yeah, she probably has like hypothermia or something and is going through it.
I wish she had skated with Ronald McDonald during this. I swear to God, it'd been pretty awesome.
Yeah, she skates around and it's like a really well drawn, well animated sequence. Like I didn't hate the way this looked. It's very incongruous when it's kind of like with the owl and the rest of the characters, and just very strange looking. But she wakes up and she's like, she thinks she's back in the orphanage because she hears a bell ringing, and then she realizes, no, she's here and she's got to find her grandmother and her Christmas doll. So she goes back outside, and we see Peter and Officer Jones show up, and they're looking for the key. And Peter's like, I can't believe it. It fell out of my pocket. I didn't know it had a hole in it. And now, Mr. Blossom will never trust me again. And I feel so bad. And, the cop is like, well, I'm sure we'll find it. The store looks fine. It's probably not, it hasn't been stolen. Nothing's been stolen. So I think you're okay. Maybe, but Peter's like,
yeah, I like these, like, what does the key look like? And he's like, it's a big key.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, maybe a robber took it. And then he starts to get a little sad, but Ivy overhears all this. So she comes out and she's like, no, I found your key. I didn't mean to steal it. It's right here. And so Peter's relieved, and Officer Jones talks to Ivy, and he's like, what are you doing out here? And she's like, well, I'm looking for my grandmother. And he's like, what's your grandmother look like, or what's her name? And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, all right, well, I'll take you to my house to get you warm.
I know it's 1950s, but he takes this in stride. Like,
yeah, it's like, it's Christmas Day. I want to go home and eat breakfast. He's the only cop in this town, apparently, because like it's a very small town, seems very safe overall. I'm sure this is what everybody who votes Republican wants to go back to.
Or thinks existed.
Exactly. Like, these are the kind of towns that exist only in these feel-good Christmas stories. They never actually existed. This is the town from A Christmas Story.
Yes, but at the same time, they remember these TV shows and think, boy, life was that. And like, no, you're remembering TV shows.
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
idiots.
This is not a real thing. Like, maybe somewhere in America there is like one town that's like this, but for the most part, no. So he takes her to his house, and Peter is cleaning up the store and is starting to put things away, and he decides, you know what? Mr. Blossom said I could have a toy, but he didn't say it had to be for me. So I will give this doll to Ivy because she helped me out and made it so that I didn't get in trouble, didn't get fired. So I want to do a nice thing for her. And as he decides that Ivy is going to be the toy that he gives, or that Holly is going to be the toy that he gives to Ivy, he is attacked by Abracadabra.
And not just like an owl attacking him.
Yes.
Like going for his eyes, flying like he's a regular owl, proportioned like he's a regular owl. It's just a bird in the store attacking him.
Yes. And he kicks Abracadabra off of him into a barrel in the store, with assumably more toys in it. And it
makes it sound like he fell to the depths of hell.
Yeah. There is like an echoing sound, like he's fallen down a chasm and he'll never come back. And then he just closes the barrel on top of him. It's like, well, that bird's dead. He got what he wanted, I guess.
He says, that was weird. And it's like, no, that's above and beyond weird. A toy came to life and attacked your face on Christmas Day.
Yeah, no questioning of that whatsoever. Oh, everything I know about reality and the world and what is alive and what isn't, all shattered right now.
No, he gives it no thought after he puts that lid on. It's done.
I've got to. I mean, I think maybe he is giving it thought, because that's why when he shows up later at Edna's house to drop off the doll, he says nothing because he's still very shaken by what has occurred.
I mean, I would like he apparently continues to work there, as we'll get to, but like I wouldn't.
Yeah. So we cut back to Officer Jones and Ivy, and they're going to the house, and Ivy spots the house and doesn't realize that it's Officer Jones's house yet, and looks inside and sees the Christmas tree, and she's like, "Oh, that looks great." And then she sees Edna, and she's like, "Oh, she looks like a grandma." Like, okay. And she's like, "I want to go inside." And he's like, "All right." And she's like, "Can you ring the bell for me?" And he's like, "There's no need. Just go in." So he opens the door. This is his house. She goes inside, and he's like, "Hey, Edna, I've got someone here to see you." And Edna comes out, and Ivy's like, "Oh, I like that Christmas tree. Could that be my Christmas tree?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" And this is Tress MacNeille doing Edna. So she sounds a little bit like a young Agnes Skinner from The Simpsons. And Peter shows up and gives her the doll, and she's like, "Oh, it's my Christmas doll." And then Ivy
runs into the house like she owns the place.
Yeah, she runs in the house and just starts looking at stuff, and then Ivy opens the doll, finds Holly, and hugs it, and then asks Edna if she can be her grandma. And she says, "You don't have to do much, just love me."
It is so bizarre. Like, if you're used to just really overwrought stories, and you knew this was going from the start, it's like, of course, this is what they're doing, and of course, it's all wrapping up right. But take one step back. This is ridiculous. Like, this would not happen. It would not happen. It makes no sense why it's happening. She's drawn too old to be this way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you were like emotionally stunted from being shuffled around various orphanages,
I'm
during
glad
Christmas,
the families are being nice to her, but I wish there was a little bit more like, "Oh, this is concerning."
No.
I care about you, child, and I want to make sure that you have an okay situation, but also, what the hell is happening?
No,
all you have to do is love me.
Yeah, she is. I mean, I think that this girl has undergone some serious trauma in her lifetime and almost froze to death the night before. So I mean, she's had a rough go.
I mean, she, like, everything passed with her laying on the pile of garbage in that storage unit could just be she died, and this is all her fever dream. Yeah, exactly. This is her afterlife.
Yeah, that's very possible. Given what happens in Noel, this is totally a likely thing that could have happened. So, we cut back from the house. We pan out to the street where people are playing in the snow and having a good time, and we get some final bit of narration from Mr. Smith, who says, all these things worked out, and when Edna and when they adopted Ivy, which they did.
It's like, by the way, don't worry, they adopted her. The way it's said, which they did, it's like, we just have to like sprint to the finish line for like, by the way, this is a happy ending.
And when the Joneses adopted Ivy, which they did,
and then it says, and then Peter, Peter kept that trust of Mr. Blossom, and he gets to lock up the store every day. So now he works 7 days a week with no break.
Wow. Lucky him.
Yeah. It really, I mean, this definitely is enforcing that 50s mindset culture of work all the time.
So Mr. Smith is God, right?
Yeah, he's probably like God or some sort of angel or like kind of, some sort of Christmas spirit.
Because like earlier when Mrs. Jones comes to buy the Christmas tree from him, she's like, "Oh, this is going to be the best Christmas ever." And he's like, "Yes, it will."
I
Because
mean,
he knows
he knows what's going on because he's telling the story, and he made Officer Jones fall down to mess up the lights for Ivy to see it in the first place.
So really, it's like, it isn't the magic of Christmas. It's the magic of Mr. Smith.
Yeah, Mr. Smith made this happen. Like, he decided that this
kid
year,
in several towns over, I'm going to make sure it gets.
like it would be one thing if, like, I mean, I guess you could.
Can he do something about this fucking owl?
you could do something like you could expand this into like a longer like movie version if you wanted to, where Mr. Smith is setting all these things up because Ivy just lost her family and because Edna and Officer Jones like had a miscarriage or something. Like, you could build it and make it in such a way where like it all fit together and it made sense that this was the time that it was happening. But like, it seems like Mr. Smith just got kind of a wild hair up his ass, and he's like, this year I won't send Ivy to the infant home, and this year I'll give Edna and her husband some kid to celebrate. I wasn't going to do it last year, but this year I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I think it absolutely has to be remade by somebody. Oh wait, no, it doesn't.
And then we get like a kind of little final coda where Ronald McDonald shows them other books they could read about fish and other things and baseball and whatnot, and then says, here's a message for everybody. Here's a book that everyone can read. And he opens it and it says, "Happy Holidays," and then it ends.
That's a terrible book. Teach you nothing.
But yeah, it was wild. The best part, though, I will have to say, is that when we were watching this on a YouTube rip, the version that we were watching ended abruptly before we found out what happened to Peter.
It seemed so fitting as it was just clamoring to like wrap up everyone's contributions and future so quickly, and then Peter was just like, and Peter, of course.
We found another version, so we were able to finish it up. But yeah, I mean, that is the Wish That Changed Christmas, which I guess, I mean, it changed it in a very specific circumstance for a couple of people. It did not change the entirety of Christmas.
I mean, no, I mean, a lot of people in this town watched this kid almost freeze to death.
Yeah, that's right.
So now we've done Noel, we've done this. I feel like at some point the other thing that's in this time frame for our good friend Romeo is Peppermint Rose.
Oh, I don't even know what that is.
It's a 1992 TV movie. I'm going to read the plot for it. It's not Christmas related.
It's not Christmas related.
But I'm wondering how it can be depressing.
How is it not Christmas related?
It's just not. So it's called, here's the summary. Rose Richards is a bright and fun-loving teenager until she is transported into the magical land of Peppermint Rose, where she is thrust into the search for the lost beauty and magic of Peppermint Rose by a tiny wizard named Demi. On her perilous journey to find the mysterious reason for the lost beauty, she confronts greedy monsters, treacherous mountains and rivers until she confronts the evil Queen Beatilia. With the help of her, who must be a beetle, with the help of her new best friends, Daisy, Lily, and Violet, she must save the beloved flowers from destruction and is enshrined into protecting the enchanted flowers which bear her name. I feel like somehow this is a child who's going to end up lost in this world for the rest of her life from her family. It'll be treated like it's a good thing.
I mean, that sounds incredibly likely.
That's all going to happen in 22 minutes. So we, at some point, have to watch that.
Yeah, we might have to. It looks like he had another thing out the same year in 1991 called Father Christmas, which looks very similarly animated. And it looks very much like the Raymond Briggs story, because apparently there is a scene in the animated movie where he meets the snowman from that particular thing. I guess it is based on a Raymond Briggs story. So yeah, he did one of those. Like he's kind of the father of the animated Christmas special. So also had something in '93 called the 12 Days of Christmas, which might be worth looking into. So
also, I'm going to show you after the show. We might, as a heads up, he's only because he created the characters from the original Rankin Bass, but there's a link here for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the Island Misfit Toys, which I didn't know existed, from 2001.
Oh yeah,
and it's CGI, and you have to see the trailer. You have to.
It might be a thing that we cover, either later this month or next Christmas. Who knows? You
never know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I guess we need to rank this on our,
8
scale of merriment. So I guess 8. Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. I think 8 is
8.
This is a weird one. Like this is to the point of like, as weird as it is, every year we do a group watch along of Noel and Rhapsody Street Kids Believe in Santa. We've done that for, I think, this would potentially be the 7th year, I think, maybe, that we've done that, 6th or 7th year. And this year I'm kind of considering subbing this in because we've watched those so many times and there's only so many jokes you can make. And I know it's tradition, but like this might be a good one to sub in. This might be a good one to do something with because it has that same Noel vibe where it is depressing and sad and there's plenty to make fun of.
I really want our friends, and I want you out there and your friends to really have that abracadabra experience because it is so fucking funny.
Yes, it is such a wild turn because you don't get that right away. So you think that it's one thing, and then when abracadabra shows up, it like is something else, and you're like, "Whoa, this doesn't fit at all with the vibe they're going for."
And it never is explained. It never fits, and he only has one role, which is to cackle, twist his neck, and then eventually attack a human character. Like a real owl.
Yeah,
no, in real life.
It's incredible. But I think that's going to do it for this episode of Center of Merriment. I think that's what I said at the beginning. I can't remember.
We'll see if next episode, if we keep it up.
Yeah, I probably won't remember. But until next time, when hopefully I'm feeling very negative, I've been Jolly Josh.
I've been Santa Skinner.
And, just keep it merry out there.
You tell people to drink?
That's right. Get boozed up. You're going to need it to get through this holiday season.
Oh, through all of them.
You've been listening to Center of Weirdness. If you like this show, rate and review us wherever you find it, but especially on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to every episode at centerofweird.com, where you can also find all of the old Predictocast episodes. And if you want to get in touch with us to tell us about a show we should cover, hit us up on Twitter at WeirdCenter. As always, thanks for listening.